Creatine has been a popular topic in media lately, but how does that apply to your non-exercise junkie or potentially new parent? So with newer research suggesting benefits for sleep deprivation and cognitive health, sign me up. Welcome to the Strawberry Rose podcast. My name is Rose, and I share things I learn as a new parent and someone who enjoys learning different things to be healthy. With today's episode, I hope to share on the topic of creatine and its use for new parents. For this episode, I've done a deeper dive on some research on creatine. So I take 5 grams of creatine a day. For my weight, that's plenty. And it's not in excess of what I could achieve within a regular diet. Because there isn't a lot of research on the effects of how it could impact my baby, I'm not taking more than that regularly, unless I get more in my normal diet. I usually will mix this into my breakfast somehow. So usually I put it in oatmeal. Because I keep an awareness of my hydration levels, I usually have electrolytes early in the morning also. The reason I use creatine is for the physical and mental benefits. Its use allows faster recovery in an athletic setting. But in the day-to-day, as a new parent, that means moving around with my baby and getting things done around the house. The other reason is if I have the desire for coffee, I try to wait until after she goes down for her first big nap for the day, or immediately after I feed her. And creatine can help with cognitive function with lack of sleep. I'd prefer to avoid caffeine until after 2 p.m., so I don't disrupt my sleep or her sleep later. And I don't want it transferring into my milk supply. I make sure to only ever have 1 cup of coffee if I do, and avoid having too much caffeine. I know that caffeine can take up to 10 hours to process for a baby, and that can make them overly fussy, or that can make them have a hard time going to sleep, and that would make me upset too. Now, because of what I've seen with research on creatine, I'm not afraid to use it while breastfeeding. I don't let the fear of what hasn't been researched to make me avoid it. Rather, what I have seen makes me feel pretty confident it won't have any negative impacts on my child's development. The other mental and psychiatric effects from the study suggested it may help with depression, anxiety, and some other conditions. For the purpose of this podcast episode, I'm not going to go into every possible thing that creatine can do. I'm just going to go over some things that are relevant. Knowing that also postpartum depression is a very real thing that affects up to 1 in 5 women. In research published in the American Journal of Psychiatry in 2012, creatine was specifically shown to have positive effects on women with depression. Although not in postpartum in that research, it suggests a promising opportunity that's not been studied yet. So I did take creatine early on in pregnancy because I had been taking it previously, and I stopped, but then I resumed again after I returned to work and she was around 3 months old. The effects I've seen are a simple extra boost. Nothing crazy. I feel more present and able to respond appropriately to my environment. And I feel more confident since I haven't been as physically fit or active as before my pregnancy and birth. I'm excited to get into working out again and having that boost my recovery. I think it's very important to take it slow. My OB said it was fine, but I don't think I went slow enough, and did hurt myself. Not to the point of hard injury, but strains and sprains, and it just made me feel like I was stepping back instead of stepping forward. It's pretty rough to try and exercise and then hurt for a week after because your body just wasn't ready. I knew creatine can reduce my chance of injury and increase your strength output to push yourself. Again though, just be slow. Postpartum, anytime that you try a new exercise, try it once lightly and see how you feel the next day. That would be my recommendation, because it's kind of like when you jump right into exercise anyway, you feel like you can do a lot, and then you're going to regret it the next day, and the next day, and the next day. But if you take it slow, you don't have to really worry about that. Just push your limits bit by bit, and just stay consistent. If you're consistently trying, it'll be faster in the long run. I think I generally have a good outlook on life, and I think I have a good ability to recognize bad thoughts as what they are, but I don't think it hurts to use it to help with that as well. I also think it helps with my reaction speed. I notice a difference between when I do take it and when I don't. Is it a placebo? I don't think so. Creatine isn't meant to be taken as a cure-all for everything, but it is a good extra boost to just help you out or help push you to a better goal or a better you. But it definitely seems like a healthy boost to your day, used in moderation. I think that new parents could benefit from the use of creatine. Until studies are done, I would remain modest with a mother's use, but I think that a husband or partner could greatly benefit from using creatine, especially in the early days. That first week, I would recommend the higher doses for the non-breastfeeding parent. In this case, my husband. I think it would help a lot, and it's something that I'll be sure to keep in mind in the future. I know the first week my husband hit his head several times from lack of sleep. One time he even walked full force into the bathroom door, with the cat in hand, not realizing it was closed. He probably would have benefited from having the creatine to help with his cognitive impairment just from the lack of sleep alone. Not to mention the physical and mental exhaustion of just trying to figure everything out as a new parent. After the first week, I would recommend reducing the total amount that you take because it's not supposed to be taken that heavily for too long. But it's essentially the same dose as a loading phase anyway, so it's not too bad to do that for a week. The other reasons would be physical demand of having a baby. The first weeks postpartum, you and your partner are doing different movements that your body is not used to performing. Picking up and putting down your baby for diaper changes, swaddling, nursing, and different feeding positions are unique movements that most people are not prepared for. Unless it's something that you do as your job, or you create a workout plan for it in advance somehow, your body will be very tired very quickly. So if you use creatine, that could definitely help. The other factor being that it helps promote muscle growth. I'd recommend making sure that you're getting enough protein in your diet as well. The effects of creatine, your performance, in this case being a new parent, will make that transition much easier. If you give yourself the best building blocks, you can give yourself the best experience. With less difficulty, that could aid in lowering frustrations. People create about half the necessary creatine that you need. Your brain makes it when you sleep. The rest comes from your diet. Approximately 95% of creatine is stored in skeletal muscles, while the remaining 5% is found in bone tissue and the brain. So because of that storage, having the saturation in your tissue helps, but it can be supplemented in the same day. So what happens with creatine is it's stored in your muscles. So once it's stored, having that as a baseline can help, but it can be also supplemented in the same day. You don't have to have it built up already in your muscles in order to have certain effects. The way that it works, and having it in the muscles, is that it helps your body process energy longer and more efficiently than without it. So your body can do this anyway, but it's very similar to working with another person. You have one person hand you the tools you need when you need them, rather than having to look for them yourself and dig through the drawer. Working with a buddy makes the whole process a little bit faster and more efficient. I could see that being helpful to any new parent. For general dosage, workouts is 5 grams. For increased cognitive function, 10 to 15 grams. According to one study, for sleep, they used 0.35 grams per kilogram of body weight. So, for example, me being around 130 pounds, I translated that to be around 60 kilograms. So the conversion would be 20 grams of creatine, which is really similar to a loading phase, or what they would suggest for a loading phase. So it's not necessarily harmful to have that for a week or so. Which, again, is not something you should use for extended periods of time in that high of a dosage. And I won't use that high of a dosage since I'm breastfeeding. If you're concerned about anything with creatine, you can always contact or talk to your doctor before you start a supplement like that. Creatine use creates creatinine, which is the metabolized version of creatine. So that's what shows up in kidney tests or urine tests whenever they're testing for what your kidneys are producing. So it's important to know for your doctor if you're taking a test like that. But if you're generally healthy, you don't really have to worry about that. Just communicate with your doctor. If you have any medical conditions, I would definitely check with your doctor before starting creatine. But it can also cause water retention, and it can give you some muscle cramps and gastrointestinal issues. So it might give you diarrhea or nausea, especially in higher doses, like during the loading phase, and ways to avoid that are to reduce it or split it potentially if needed. I think it's a great tool that new parents could use in order to just make the process a little bit more streamlined and easy. Not to say that any of it is easy. For a general baby update, my daughter's been doing so much better since being sick. Now she's back to her normal sleep cycle, for the most part. She sits up better and better each day for longer periods, and her little bald spot is finally starting to fill in with some hair growth. I have been loving our morning walks when the weather permits. It's kind of nice during the day, so I went on a walk with her today. She got a bath, and my dog got to run for the ball while she watched. She loves petting the animals. It's so cool watching her eyes light up when the cat comes close and she can feel how soft he is. And she's constantly tracking Turnip, my dog, when he walks around her. On another note, in exciting news, I'm in the beginning stages of potty training. Now, I don't expect any miracles overnight. I don't expect it to be like a high pressure situation or anything like that, but I'm getting her comfortable around the toilet. So, she peed in the toilet this week, and she's 7 months old this week. Woo! Super exciting. So, just to share some updates, super excited with everything to come. And as my fun fact for today, or my little tidbit that I would like to add in, there is a superstition that I've heard that if you wake up with a bruise and you don't know where it came from, it's because a dead person touched you. That sounds super spooky, but I love learning little things like that are cultural or whatnot. Kind of like old wives' tales that are suggestive of if you go to sleep with your hair wet, you're going to wake up sick. Not necessarily true, but if it was really cold out, that would definitely make you significantly colder, and I could see where those come from. But it's fun hearing those, so I'll like to share something fun like that at the end of every episode, as a thanks for staying until the end. So enjoy, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Also, any studies that I reference or information that I've looked up for this episode, I will make sure that the information is in the show notes or description somewhere. That way it's accessible for anyone looking for it. Enjoy, have a great day, bye-bye.